Assalamualaikum, I'm 2191009 Muhammad Razak, and I want to talk about what are the basis of establishment of the Palestinian state and the history of her birth. Palestine is a little district of the land that has assumed unconspicuous part in the antique and present day history of the Middle East. Anyway, what is the Palestine really? The word Palestine is gotten from the Greek word Philistia, which dates to ancient Greek scholar depiction of the district in the 12th century BC. The historical backdrop of Palestine has been set apart of successive political clash and robbed land seizures due to insignificance to the few significant world religion, and in the light of the fact that the Palestinians sit at an important geographical junction among Africa and Asia. Today, Arab individuals who call the domain home are known as a Palestinian and individual of Palestine want to make a free and autonomous state in his challenge local of the world. In any case, a lot of this land is currently considered as present-day Israel. Truth be told, in excess 135 United Nations part nation perceive Palestine as a free state. However, Israel is some different nation, include the United States, don't make this qualification. Throughout history, the local of Palestine is characterized as the area between the Mediterranean Sea and the Jordan River, where we can see Israel and Palestine are being called today. Deliberately arranged between the three landmasses, Palestine has a turbulent history as a junction of religion, culture, trade, and governmental issue. Palestine is the origin of Judaism and Christianity. Palestine has administered by various gatherings, include the Assyrians, Babylon, Persians, Greek, Romans, Arab, Fatimids, Seljuks, Turk, Crusaders, Egyptian, and the Mamluk. From around 1517 to 1917, the Ottoman Empire managed a large part of the district, then the United Kingdom, and since 1948, it has been isolated into Israel and the West Bank and the Gaza Strip. When the World War I finished in 1918, the British assumed responsibility for Palestine. The League of the Nations gave the British command for the Palestine, which is a record that gave Britain regulatory power over the local and remember arrangement for the building up the Jewish public country for the Palestine, which came full circle in 1923. During the memorandum time frame, various plans of the partial of Palestine were proposed yet without the arrangement, everything being equal. In 1947, after over 20 years of British principle, the United Nations proposed an arrangement to segment Palestine into two segments, which are an autonomous Jewish state and a free Arab state. The city of Jerusalem, which was granted as a capital by the two Jews and Palestinian Arab, was to be a worldwide region with the extraordinary status. Jewish people acknowledged the arrangement, yet numerous Palestinian Arab and some of who had been effectively battling British and Jewish interests in the area since the 1920s. Middle Eastern gathering contained that they address most of the populace in specific area and out to be and allowed more area. They start to frame volunteer militaries all through Palestine to battle for their property. That's all from me. Thank you.
Assalamualaikum and hi, my name is Mohd Syarqawi bin Sazali. My number metric is 2190771. So the question here is, how was the state of Israel was established? Israel was established in 14 May 1948. The person that responsible for this establishment was Jewish agency leader, that is David Ben-Gurion. He declared the state of Israel to be established. On the same day, US President at that time, Harry S. Truman, acknowledged the fledgling nation. At first, Palestine was part of the Ottoman Empire, which is Muslim land. At this time, Christian and Muslim lived peacefully alongside each other. Then, Zionists started a movement in Europe and want the Palestine to be their homeland. So, the European Jews start to emigrate into Palestine. Then, unfortunately, the Ottoman Empire was collapsed after World War I, and British start to take over Palestine. At 1970, British announced that Palestine was Jewish homeland. After that, the number of Jewish is drastically increased. After that, British cannot control the population of Jewish at the Palestine and start to let United Nations taking over. Then United Nations approved to split Palestine into two states, which is Jewish Israel and Arab Palestine. The city of Palestine, which is Jerusalem, was controlled by UN-controlled international zone. UN declared the independence and state of the Israel, and this been objected by many neighborhood Arab. This had caused an Israel-Arab war. The war was won by the Israel. Then Israel started to take over all the land. As a result, several hundred people, Palestine became refugees at the time. And in 1967, the Six-Day War happened between Israel and neighboring Arab country. And once again, Israel won and start to take over all the land in Palestine. Palestine people had fight for their land back until fighting goes for years, and this happened until today.
I want to talk about the conflict between Palestine and Israel. This conflict caused out because the clash of the civilization. This conflict after World War One, when the Ottoman Empire crashed, British assumed to take responsible for the Palestine. Pressure between two groups developed when the worldwide local give permission to Britain of the establishing a national home in the Palestine for the Jewish people. This made the local Palestine agree for this idea. Okay. In 1947, the United Nations in bracket UN vote for the Palestine split into the spread Jewish and Arab state, with Jerusalem becoming an international city. This plan rejected by the Arab side but accepted the Jewish leader. The Arab side think this is not fair for them because the Palestine is their country, not the Jewish country. Okay. In 1948, British cannot take over this issue, and British left, and Jewish declare the creation of the state of the Israel. This made the many Palestine protest, and the conflict is follow. This is the result of the conflict between Israel and Palestine.
Why does the United States support Israel? Okay, firstly, in terms of military, Israel has a nuclear weapon and warfare capacity. Besides that two countries also collaborate on the joint development in terms of knowledge and technology. The second point is electoral-politics. US public opinion and vote generally sympathize more with Israel than the Palestine. Besides that, Jews and Christians are among the most political engagement group in the US. In other words, the former traditional support Democrat and the latent Republican.
Everyone knows the United States is Israel's best friends. The US gives Israel billions of dollars aid annually, constantly block UN Security Council resolutions condemning Israel and back its military offensive publicly. But why? What's the thinking behind America going above and beyond for Israel? This was right after the World War II, when the Cold War between the United States and the Soviet Union was taking shape. The Middle East, with its oil reserve and strategic waterways, which is the Suez Canal, was a key battleground for superpower hegemonic influence. The United States was taking over from severely weakened European powers as the primary Western power broker in the Middle East, but even then, support for Israel was not unequivocal. From the expert, Israel intelligence service has assisted the US in intelligence gathering and covert operations. Because of the strategic place, Israel Air Force is predominant throughout the region, which is Middle East region.